Alright guys, so I think it was about a month ago that we covered a story of Joe Biden deciding to withhold one weapon shipment to Israel of 500 2,000-pound bombs. Now, we're about a month later, and here comes Benjamin Netanyahu dropping a statement in English, basically attacking Joe Biden, as if Joe Biden has not been giving them billions and billions of dollars in weapons. So we're going to watch this video, then we're going to look at how Joe Biden and his administration have been reacting to it. But I just want you guys to understand that those 2,000-pound bombs should not have ever been used in Gaza, period. We are talking about bombs that have a lethal radius of up to 1,000 feet in any given direction. So it's basically, by definition, impossible to use these bombs in as densely populated of a place like Gaza without it being indiscriminate, without it killing massive amounts of civilians. And they've used these bombs hundreds and hundreds of times inside of Gaza. And so the Biden administration cuts them off in that one weapon shipment. We've been continuing to send them other weapons, right? But they cut off those weapons, and here comes Benjamin Netanyahu absolutely fuming about this, as if this is the holdup. And if you send us these bombs, then we'll finally be able to defeat Hamas. So let's go ahead and watch this.
When Secretary Blinken was recently here in Israel, we had a candid conversation. I said I deeply appreciated the support the U.S. has given Israel from the beginning of the war. But I also said something else. I said it's inconceivable that in the past few months, the administration has been withholding weapons and ammunition to Israel. Israel, America's closest ally, fighting for its life, fighting against Iran and our other common enemies. Secretary Blinken assured me that the administration is working day and night to remove these bottlenecks. I certainly hope that's the case. It should be the case. During World War II, Churchill told the United States, "Give us the tools, we'll do the job." And I say, give us the tools and we'll finish the job a lot faster.
Okay, so a couple of different things there. First off, giving you 2,000-pound bombs is not going to help you, quote-unquote, finish the job. I mean, if by finish the job you mean completely obliterate all life in Gaza, then maybe it would help you on that front. But if by finish the job you mean eradicate Hamas or completely militarily destroy Hamas, then that's not going to help you, okay? Completely eliminating Hamas from Gaza is not something that's remotely on the horizon. And that's not just my opinion. We're going to get to this here in a second. That's the opinion now of even Daniel Hagari, right? Top Israeli military officials are admitting that wiping out Hamas is not on the table. So not exactly sure what you mean by give us these weapons and then we'll finish the job, while citing, World War II. Just completely absurd and ridiculous. Now, part of the other, insane nature of him making this kind of a statement is that Joe Biden has been giving him everything that you could possibly imagine. We've been giving him billions of dollars in weapons. We've been covering for him diplomatically on the world stage. We've been trying to obstruct and to sabotage the ICC, the International Criminal Court, potential arrest warrants that are coming down the pipeline. We've smeared and attacked the International Court of Justice on your behalf, as Israel is currently facing that genocide case. We have done literally everything you could possibly imagine to do whatever the fuck Israel wants to do as they carry out this genocide. We have been fully complicit in this every step of the way. And even with that, this man has the audacity to come out and to attack Joe Biden as if he's not being sufficiently, dutiful in giving Israel whatever the fuck they want. I mean, it is just an absolute humiliation for Joe Biden, right? You have Benjamin Netanyahu is somehow willing to come out publicly to apply pressure on Biden, then Joe Biden is to come out publicly and apply pressure on Benjamin Netanyahu. Biden has been going with this total bear hug strategy that's been an abject failure for the last 8+ months at this point. But somehow Benjamin Netanyahu can come out and can make statements like this. But Biden can't come out and make any sort of public statements criticizing Israel, right? So I mean, it's all so beyond pathetic. And this is the guy who's about to come speak to Congress, by the way. A bipartisan coalition invited this man to come and speak to Congress. One of the most notorious war criminals on the face of the planet is going to be in our country, in our congressional building. Absolutely sick joke. Now, we have here from Barak Ravid, Blinken's response to this criticism. He said, "We continue to review one shipment." Again, this is all based on one shipment of weapons, guys. that President Biden talked about regarding 2,000-pound bombs because of our concern about their use in densely populated areas like Rafah. This remains under review, but everything else is moving as it normally would move. So in other words, we're not like withholding weapons to try to apply pressure on Israel to stop the genocide. We just did it because we saw them use these 2,000-pound bombs with a 1,000-foot radius, a kill radius, and we said, okay, maybe we can't be that complicit in all of this. We don't want Israel to go and completely flatten Rafah more so than they already have into oblivion, right? But if that's the justification, I mean, listen guys, at the end of the day, I brought this up a million times on this channel. The U.S. sending weapons to Israel not only makes us complicit in a genocide, not only could potentially have international ramifications, but it's also completely illegal under U.S. law. We have the Leahy Law, we have the Foreign Assistance Act, we have laws that are already passed, they're on the books, they are supposed to be, things that we stick to, that very clearly say, if there are credible accusations, which there definitely are in this situation, of human rights abuses or war crimes that are happening with U.S. weapons, then we are not legally allowed to give that military, to give that country weapons. We're also not allowed to give weapons to countries that are blocking our aid from getting somewhere. So on two different fronts, these weapon shipments are totally illegal under U.S. law. And we got the Prime Minister of Israel freaking out because we decided to withhold one weapon shipment. I mean, it's all just a joke, man. Now, on top of that, again, it's not as if we have not been sending them other weapons. This was just one shipment that got held up. So here was just the latest. I mean, this is from yesterday, I believe, 2 days ago. After delay, top Democrats in Congress sign off on sale of F-15 fighter jets to Israel. So, I mean, they say senior Democrats who had taken the unusual step of holding out relented to pressure from the Biden administration and allowed a multi-billion-dollar sale of weapons to move ahead. So they were facing pressure from the Biden administration to push forward with another multi-billion-dollar weapons package. So, again, does this look like an administration that is trying to hamper what Israel is doing in Gaza? No, of course not. Now, we also had this here because Mitch McConnell, Glitch McConnell, as we call him, recently decided to chime in. He said on the Senate floor just the other day that this decision to withhold assistance to Israel has made Israel's tasks even more difficult. He added that Israel needs the weapons the president has withheld. It needs the time and the space to finish the job. It needs the freedom to operate on its own timetable, based on the tactical reality in the Middle East, not on the political winds in Washington. So, just to give you an update here, Mr. McConnell, this is the latest on the tactical reality of the situation on the ground in Gaza. Here from IDF spokesperson, the spokesperson for the IDF. He says the idea of destroying Hamas is throwing sand in the eyes of the public. So this is Brigadier General Daniel Hagari. He says Hamas is an idea. Hamas is a political party. It is rooted in the hearts of the people. Whoever thinks we can eliminate Hamas is mistaken. Whoever thinks we can eliminate Hamas through military means is mistaken. Guys, is this not just an open admission from the IDF spokesperson that the core goal of this operation since October 7th has been an utter failure? This is the main justification that Israel has been using for months and months and months to continue with the genocide in Gaza, is, oh, we're just on the verge of completely defeating Hamas. Here you have the IDF spokesperson saying, yeah, that's never going to happen. Okay, so why the fuck are you guys still in Gaza right now? We know it's not to get the hostages, because you could easily get all of the hostages back with a ceasefire deal. So what exactly, if you're admitting that you're not going to be able to defeat Hamas, what exactly is the justification for continuing any of this? Especially as you're continuing to escalate in the north with Hezbollah, and I'll have some reporting on that either later today or tomorrow, on how it looks like as time goes on, we're getting closer and closer to an inevitable, wide-scale war between the IDF and Hezbollah, which would be an absolute unmitigated disaster, right? An absolute nightmare for the people of Lebanon, for the people of Israel, just an absolute shit show, right? Also what? So that Benjamin Netanyahu can keep himself in power for a little bit longer, right? Because when the war ends, presumably his political career could end and he could be facing his corruption charges and even end up in jail. I mean, again, what is the justification for continuing what they're doing? If it's not to defeat Hamas, which you're saying is impossible, what's the justification for continuing this other than just to make life in Gaza impossible? Impossible. Now, again, we had probably report number, I don't know, 783 coming out about how angry Biden is behind the scenes, right? We have all these reports that come out for months on end saying, oh, he's mad at Netanyahu behind the scenes and they had a tense phone call and whatever. So this is another one of those stories here from Barak Ravid. White House cancels meeting, scolds Netanyahu over his protest video. So, I mean, just a couple of quotes here from U.S. officials. The decision makes it clear to cancel this meeting that there are consequences for pulling such stunts. Another one, the Americans are fuming. Bibi's video made a lot of damage, according to the senior Israeli official. You canceled a meeting. You canceled a meeting. What's next? Are you going to leave him like a passive-aggressive voicemail or something? This is what you guys think is consequences? Is canceling a meeting while continuing, again, to send them more weapons, to push through deals, to give them F-35 fighter jets or F-15 fighter jets. This is the consequence, right? Oh, we're going to cancel a meeting, and that's somehow going to change anything? What exactly do you think that's going to do? So we also have this here from the U.S. ambassador to Israel. There's an official tweet here from the Israeli Prime Minister account. So this guy, Jack Lew, apparently told Netanyahu yesterday, after he made that statement, that the ammunition and weapons that the Prime Minister referred to in the video are in the process of being delivered to Israel. So what exactly is going on here? Is Biden now backtracking on withholding the 2,000-pound bomb shipment? We had Anthony Blinken, who was asked about this directly at one of these press events, and basically on whether or not he's actually removing the bottlenecks to get these 2,000-pound bombs to Israel. And his response was, "I've been as clear as I possibly can be." Doubt it. "We're committed to Israel's defense." So, I mean, clearly, again, there's no indication whatsoever that the Biden administration is preparing to, withhold any significant amount of weapons moving forward. And it looks like, potentially, they could be loosening the restrictions on the weapons that we're giving to Israel moving forward. Now, to shift gears away from, again, yet another absolute humiliation of Joe Biden by Benjamin Netanyahu and the government of Israel, we now move on to a couple other things that I thought were important to mention. So we got some updates on the Gaza pier, the floating pier that failed in basically a couple of weeks. This was, I guess, basically just like a PR stunt that the Biden administration pulled to try to pretend as if they were, going to be able to fix the fact that Israel is blocking most of the humanitarian aid from getting to the population that they're starving. And so here from Ken Klippenstein, the question that was asked was, back in April, President Biden threatened to put conditions on U.S. military aid to Israel if it didn't do a better job of allowing humanitarian aid into Gaza. It's been 2 months and the U.S. has taken no action. Now, first off, I love the idea that it's even remotely controversial to condition weapons to Israel. At this point, we're well beyond withholding some weapons or even cutting off the weapons. There should be a global embargo on weapons to Israel right now. If we were actually going to abide by the letter of the law under, international standards, there should be a total global arms embargo on Israel right now. We should be talking about sanctioning Israel. But in the United States of America, it's considered an outlandish thing to even put restrictions, to put conditions on the weapons that we are giving to Israel. Now, the State Department response to this was, so it's because we have seen them take steps that have been productive, not always perfect. In every instance, everybody makes mistakes, like, accidentally, I guess, starving a population of 2 million people. We've all been there, right? But he said it's a significant improvement. And then the follow-up question to that was, well, aid groups in the north are saying it's just as bad as it was before. So in other words, they haven't done anything to improve the situation. And his response to this was to say, we don't have the people on the ground to make an assessment. We will look to the groups that make assessments to tell us what the actual situation is. So how exactly, if you don't have the ability to make assessments because you don't have people on the ground, then how exactly are you making the assessment that there have been significant improvements in the delivery of aid to the northern portion of Gaza? Which again, as I pointed out here, goes completely contrary to what every humanitarian aid organization and people on the ground in Gaza are reporting. They're reporting that it's just as bad as it's ever been. So what exactly are you basing this on? I mean, it's based on bullshit. He's pulling it out of his ass. It's an excuse to not hold Israel accountable in any way, shape, or form. And I think that's pretty clear. And this is happening, again, at the same time that now we got reporting from the Times of Israel here. U.S. officials say that Gaza aid pier may be dismantled soon. Dismantled. After little success. Yeah. So, we spent months and millions of dollars to build a floating pier off the coast of Gaza that, even in a dream scenario, if everything had worked out, would not have come even remotely close to scratching the surface of how much aid is needed inside of Gaza. In order to address that, you would need Israel to stop blocking the land crossings and artificially and arbitrarily restricting aid from getting in through the land crossings. But we decided to build this bullshit pier, again, as a PR stunt, as a distraction away from the fact that Israel is blocking the aid. And, I mean, literally just in a month or so, less than a month or so, I guess, we're talking about dismantling it. Dismantling it, after barely any trickle of aid even managed to come through. And after there were allegations that this pier was used in the recent massacre that we saw during the Israeli operation to go and get some of their hostages back, where they killed hundreds of Palestinians in that process. So, I don't know, guys. This is a perfect example of the utter decline that the American empire is currently in the midst of. Dismantling the pier. Now, we also have this here from the Prime Minister's account as well. Sort of related, not exactly pertinent to Gaza. This is actually about the West Bank. They say the Security Cabinet discussed steps to strengthen settlement, right? Let's keep this, the words that are being used here by the Israeli Prime Minister, right? Israeli settlements, illegal settlements is what he's referring to. So when people get frustrated or angry or accuse you of being an anti-Semite because you say Israel is a settler colonial project, look at the language that they themselves use. We're going to strengthen settlement in Judea and Samaria, they're talking about the West Bank, including in response to countries that unilaterally recognized a Palestinian state after October 7th, as well as a series of responses against the PA, the Palestinian Authority, following its actions against Israel in international bodies. So, to translate this statement here, this settler colonial project of Israel is going to aggressively expand their illegal settlements on occupied Palestinian land in retaliation for the Palestinian Authority trying to help the International Criminal Court to hold Israel accountable for war crimes. You understand what they're saying here? They're saying, we are going to ramp up our war crimes, because the settlements are war crimes under international law. We're going to ramp up our war crimes as a punishment for anybody who tried to hold us accountable for our war crimes. Or we're going to do it, as well, because there are some countries like Spain and Ireland and several others that have unilaterally recognized a Palestinian state. Does this seem like a country? Does this seem like a state that's interested in peace, in long-term peace with the Palestinians, or anything remotely resembling a two-state solution? Of course not. You're continuing to expand and to fragment Palestinians into a million different Bantustans or enclaves inside of the West Bank. This is not a country that is serious about engaging in long-term peace. This is the opposite of that. The opposite of that. And doing it specifically as a middle finger to anybody who would dare to recognize a Palestinian state, or who would dare to try to use international bodies to hold Israel accountable. I mean, it's fucking insane. It's absolutely insane. Now, a couple more things and I'll finish off the video. Here we have from Matthew Miller, State Department ghoul. He was asked a question here, I believe from our boy Prem, on a recent attack in the West Bank, again, not Gaza, in the West Bank, in the Jenin refugee camp, where 7 people were killed by Israeli snipers, including 2 teenagers and a doctor who was on his way to work. One of these kids was killed while they were riding a bicycle. So he's asked about that, and his response is, I can't give you a good explanation, and surprise, surprise, ask the government of Israel, they should investigate. What do we think that investigation is going to turn up? Do we think there's going to be any accountability? I mean, no, of course not. We've heard this line of, well, Israel needs to investigate themselves, right? We're going to wait for their conclusion. We've heard this probably dozens and dozens of times over the last 8 months. I have not seen a single, not one, investigation that has come back that has admitted any wrongdoing at all. None. They either never start the investigations, or they never finish the investigations, or they do finish the investigations and say, yeah, we did nothing wrong. Our hands are clean. I mean, the idea that the official position of the U.S. government is that Israel has not committed any war crimes, not one, inside of Gaza, no war crimes. What are we supposed to do with this? These are the most shameless liars on the face of the planet. Now, again, one last thing. We had another resignation here. A U.S. Air Force major and an engineer resigning. They said, I am utterly dismayed by how the president and the Department of Defense has been complicit in the genocide in Gaza. I don't want to be working on something that can turn around and be used to slaughter innocent people. And obviously, who could blame them? Who could blame them for resigning? We've seen this happen with a number of different State Department officials, members of the military, etc. This is happening more and more as time goes on because people are waking up, they have a conscience, and they say, I can't be a part of this. I cannot be a part of this. So there's your updates for this one. I'll probably have more reporting out later today on the escalations with Lebanon, which is, again, getting absolutely terrifying. But Joe Biden just continues to bend himself over and, allow himself to be publicly humiliated on repeat, seems like on a damn near daily or weekly basis at this point, and continues to be fully complicit in this ongoing genocide.
Politic guy has the best politic. Believe me, no one does it like him. Believe me, everyone is saying